Oh, well, you look at that. Welcome to the party, folks and fam. Say, I'll tell you this. I left the faith 14 years ago. And with that, the collapse of my first marriage was soon to follow. Our daughters at the time were 10 and 8 when we first separated. And there began the next decade plus of co parenting. And as you might expect, in a situation where it's a otherwise Christian context, and now one of the parents has now become an atheist. As you might expect, I quickly started receiving, shall we say, less than stellar feedback from the loved ones around me about how my atheism could only hurt my ability to ethically, morally, or even just responsibly serve as a proper parent to our girls. Purity culture, suddenly gone. Respecting our preteen and then teen daughters, increasing autonomy. Wow, suddenly very present. Halfway through high school, our eldest daughter decided to shift from 50-50 to moving in with her father, me, full time. A couple years later, her younger sister did the same and also moved in with me full time. Well, it must be because Drew's just a terrible parent who lets his kids raise literal hell and do whatever they want. That was the accusation. Why else would my teenage daughters want to live with me? In reality, however, thankfully, it seems to have been far different. Fast forward to this past weekend, where my eldest, now a young 20-something running her own growing small business, she shared some words with me. And she actually even returned to Christianity a couple years ago, mind you. So she's a Christian now for the first time in years, or maybe even ever. And this is what even she said this past weekend. She said, I can't imagine where I'd be if I hadn't moved in full time in high school. You let me live my life and make mistakes while holding me accountable and teaching me to grow. She's a Christian, and even she thinks that a rather dull atheist like me can maybe be a better parent than some of the Christian alternatives. An atheist, a better parent? Listen, some of us here tonight are currently on the receiving end of a long line of folks assuming the worst in you as a parent and as a human. And some of us here tonight might be genuinely wondering, maybe, just maybe, has atheism made me a bad parent? To that, my dear friends and family, I emphatically affirm no. If we have, and to whatever degree we have work we can do in our parenting, because we all do, it's not because of your atheism. And that I can wholeheartedly affirm. But nonetheless, if these are challenges that you are facing, and if you're curious where to turn, then friends, family, folks, turn here. Let's talk, let's discuss, let's navigate these roads together. So call in and share with us. Share your journey, share your challenges of parenting as an atheist, or of pretty much anything else that you're wrestling your way through tonight as you navigate life after faith. Keep in mind that whatever the subject matter, your boots on the ground challenges, just the stuff you're facing in real life, whatever the subject matter tonight, those will always be prioritized over other calls, even if they're not about parenting. Why? So that we, so that you, so that me, so that our amazing co-host back at it again tonight, so that we all might partner up and find our way together. The number, folks, it's going to be on the screen, 98-4400-5656, because the Life After Faith live call-in show, yeah, that starts in 3, 2, 1, now. course. There she is, back in the seat once again. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good.
Herself. Yes.
It's me. Hi.
Stacie Goose. Here she is. Here she is. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's been a month already. I don't know if I want to do this every month because it's making time go so fast, and I really want to enjoy summer. So
they go so fast, right? So fast. Yeah. But yes, back in the seat again. It's the fourth Wednesday, and my illustrious co-host, my wife, my partner, my love. Hey, yes. I wore my special date night shirt, babe. Okay, check this out. So, folks. It might not be a secret. I'm a fan of collared black shirts. However, this one has a little bit of white, some fanciness. So this is the Goose, Stacie Goose. This is her favorite. So I wore this specifically for you, my love. Specifically for you. Coming in all the way north of the border, a whole country away. But I finally get to see you. So yeah. Do you remember, Stacie? Y'all remember, folks? Do y'all know? Have I ever shared this? Stacie, remember that when before we first met, I saw you online. I saw your name before we ever met in person, or in any way. And I thought your pseudonym, Apostasy, I thought it was pronounced Stacie. Remember that? Remember that? Yeah.
You and a bunch of people. Yeah. Yes, I do remember that.
Stacie herself. Yes. Yeah. I think that's the most flattering way to pronounce your pseudonym. The Stacie. Yeah.
Makes total sense. Except it doesn't, but yeah.
Now, something exciting, folks. Guess what? The Stacie Goose and the boys, my three bonus kids, all coming next week for their first American, USA, United States, or 4th of July in the US. First time you're so impressed with Trump and all of his incredible
work.
What
a time to visit.
Here, just in time for the 250th, your first 4th of July in the US. You must be so excited.
So excited. I actually bought a t-shirt. I'm so excited to wear it. It says, "Democracy is dying, but yay, fireworks." And I'm very excited to wear it. But yeah, it'll be good.
Yes.
Good times.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, folks, we have a great show planned for tonight. What do you think, Goose? You think we do?
I think we do. Yeah. This is very much sorry, I'm going to be distracted by comments. I gotta.
Are the comments good? See, I'm so terrible at that. I never do a good job keeping an eye on the comments. Everybody else does a better job putting them in front of me. So, but yeah, careful. Yeah, where is it? Yeah, right here. All right, folks. Number one comment on the screen tonight, Bree Badger here in the crew member in the back room. Wow. Careful with fireworks. Lots of idiots blow off the, what does it say? Bits of themselves with fireworks every year. Yeah. Just in time. Just for you, babe. Just for you, Stacie. Yeah. Good times all around. Good times all around.
But no, I'm excited about this topic because when I've done previous streams, shows, talking about my story, and everyone, I get to the point where they find out I have kids, and their question is always like, and obviously I'm not going to like jump into too far ahead of a conversation, but their question is always like, well, what about your kids? How did they handle your change and stuff? So I was like, you know what? It'd be really nice to dedicate a show. And obviously, like, please feel free to call where we don't need to just talk about us and our experience the whole time, but it would be nice to have this as a feature conversation to kind of go into a bit more detail. Because as you and I have had conversations over the last couple of years, like we've had a lot of similarities and with our just deconversion and both being parents and that kind of thing, and just how we both handled it. And our kids were relatively the same age-ish when we deconverted. So yeah,
that's true. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yours might have been a little bit older, but around the same age.
Yeah. Well, thank you for crediting me for being anywhere close to your age when I deconverted because, given-
You were younger when you deconverted. You were younger than I was.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You were a lot younger.
I stand corrected. I was.
You were a lot younger.
I was 33 when I deconverted. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
That facts. Of course, everybody else is like, wait, she's older than 33? Anyway. I do want to let everybody know, just make sure it's on all of our radar. The bullshit Bible verse of the week is, of course, going to be coming up at the top of the hour, right around 8 p.m. Central Time. And, of course, there's going to be an extra 10 heretic points for anybody who gets, or the person that gets the closest to it, or who gets it. If you get it right on the nose, the exact verse, then you get 100 heretic points. And these are really exciting because it's kind of like you get to dial up the sauna just a little bit more in hell. Who doesn't want a nice hot sauna, right? So extra 100 heretic points if you get it right on the proverbial nose, 10 heretic points if nobody gets it right, but you're the closest. But so our clue this week's bullshit Bible verse might have something to do with parenting and we'll say a little more parenting and we'll call it good old fashioned Christian love. So drop your guesses in the chat. Bullshit Bible verse of the week, parenting and good old-fashioned Christian love. Back of the house, chat nod, whatnot, if we can help keep track of any answer. Last week I got in trouble because somebody guessed at least the book correctly. I believe that was you, Bree. And I got in so much trouble from Bree at the end because I didn't catch it. So Bree, I'm going to put the onus back on you. If you can help me keep track of any that I might miss, that'd be great. And then we'll announce the winner after we.
Ooh, good guess, Steve.
Ooh, what was it? What was the guess? Spare the rod.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay, but don't give it away though.
I'm not. I'm just saying it's a good guess.
Yeah. No, but we got to make sure nobody give it away. It might. No. It's a good guess. It might not be that good.
Okay. Okay, what's that one? I don't know. I'm
saying that to you. I'm saying that to everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, what is that?
I don't know.
Genesis 13:35. All kinds of. Okay, they're coming up on the screen. Keep them going. Keep them churning, folks. Let's see, Stacie. Stacie Goose. Let's see. So yeah, before we jump in, anything else on the announcement list here for tonight?
Well, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Pride.
Yes.
From Skeptic Haven. So we've been
absolutely.
I live in a very small town here in BC, and we have been just starting to get more Pride events. And so I've been taking my kids to all of them, and we have all the flags and all the stickers and all the bracelets and pens and everything. So anyways, happy Pride from Skeptic Haven.
Happy Pride, everyone. And yeah, that was fun, eh? Which, what was it? It was the, well, I guess we'll just say the local. Maybe we'll just say the local rather than the specific city. Yes. But yeah, went to the local Pride Fest in your town, Stacie. Since again, we live in different countries. We live in different cities then, of course. And yeah, it was great to go with you and the boys and go check out the local Pride Fest in Canada.
Every year it grows a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, there's a lot of great drag shows and just really good stuff. Really good stuff.
Times. Yeah.
Well, so yes, so tonight, as you mentioned, Stacie, and as I mentioned during the opening, tonight, folks and family, we're talking about parenting, specifically whether or not atheism makes us bad parents. Let's see. So, folks, we want you to go ahead, drop in the chat. Does atheism tend to make folks worse parents, better parents, or maybe there's no difference at all? I'd encourage everybody, go ahead and drop that in the chat. What do you think throughout the night? Does atheism tend to make folks better parents, worse parents, or no difference at all? We would love for everyone to not only drop it in the chat, but also call in, share with us. Share your thoughts to that question, as well as anything else. Certainly if you're navigating challenges around this. If you're weighing some of this on your mind and it's bothering you, or you've got the assholes around the corner or even in your own family giving you a hard time about it, then please, or even just maybe if you even grew up in an atheist household and you wondered that about your own parents, feel free to call in about that. Really, we can take this in 1,001 different directions. And of course, as always, feel free to call in about anything that has nothing to do with this. Our priority is always being able to talk through, think through, work through whatever your challenges are as you're navigating, finding your way, navigating life after faith. So we have a conversation each week just to kind of help give us an idea of something we can talk about. But that said, though, seriously, the priority, even above this conversation, is just what are the challenges you're facing in life. We want to walk through those challenges with you. Just a quick reminder as we set sail this evening is that Life After Faith, this show, it offers personal perspectives and coaching style conversations, but it is not a substitute for licensed professional therapy. For that, I would refer you to the same place where I found my therapist, which is the Secular Therapy Project, which you can find at seculartherapy.org. For additional resources navigating life after faith and a variety of other things, check out Recovering from Religion, which is Secular Therapy Project's partner org. And you can find them at recoveringfromreligion.org. Both of those links are in the show notes. Check those out. Really, really good stuff there. So, folks, the lines are open. The Goose and I are going to start chatting and kind of dive into the subject a little bit. But lines are open, so give us a call, chat with us. We would love to hear from you. Honestly, even if it's just to say hi, even if it's just to share a story, we would love for you to come in and chat with us. So that number again, and we're going to get it here on the screen in a moment. It's also already in the show notes, 98 4400 5656, or you can use the web call link. But call in, folks, and let's hang out. So that said, Stacie, the apostasy.
Yeah.
Let's dive into this a little bit. So,
Okay.
So how many years ago was it when you left the faith? Remind me.
It's been almost 5 years.
Oh, almost 5 years already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me it was 14. So yeah, you're right. It's been a little longer for me than it has been for you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's chat about this for a few minutes. At least I find it an interesting thought to consider is, would you say that you have changed much at all as a parent since leaving the faith, or is it mostly the same? How much is, I think people look at us and they assume so much has changed, and sometimes it does.
Yeah.
But sometimes not necessarily. What do you think? How much has your parenting changed over the 5 years since you left?
Yes, I think in a way, yeah, it has. I feel like I'm still very much the same person in a lot of ways. Like there hasn't been a huge drastic change in like my personality or anything. And my kids and I still have a really great relationship, but I feel like, in many ways it has changed because, I allow them to, like, if there's certain questions they have, I don't try and, how do I put it? I don't try and like guide them into the way that I want them to think, like how I was thinking. I allow conversations to just kind of happen. There's just, it's been a lot more freeing. Like I give them just a lot of autonomy now. I understand that they're not doing things because they have a sin nature.
Oh shit. That was really a big thing though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everything. I remember when my kids were young and I actually would preach on this. I would be like, of course. What do we call it? Natural depravity or whatever. I don't even remember all the lingo anymore.
I know.
Just being born, fallen nature, right?
Yeah.
Of course we're born sinful. Of course we see it. It's proven every day when our toddler is lying. Why would our toddler lie when they're not even in trouble, right? And we look at those kinds of things as evidence for it. You're right, though, that it was just baked in. I didn't even think about that till you said that.
Yeah. So, like everything was just looked at through the lens of the Bible, Christianity, indoctrination. And I do remember when I was a Christian, some of the ways I would discipline my kids. This isn't going the way you're probably thinking it's going, but I would tell them, like, this is making Jesus very unhappy. What you're doing is making Jesus very unhappy, and you're disappointing him. But it was weird because I remember, like, as I would be saying those words, I would be thinking, why am I saying this? Like, this is so weird. This is confusing. This would be so confusing. They're like 3 years old, and they're probably thinking, okay, like, but I was already laying that groundwork for just like guilt to imaginary things, which I didn't think at the time was imaginary, but just having that feeling of shame all the time, and feeling like you're constantly being watched, or you're constantly being like sinning. So, but even when I was saying it as a Christian, I would get this kind of like, I guess it was my human nature that was kind of like fighting back. But yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, no, I've definitely changed.
No, I think that's interesting though, how you go in that direction. Because I think oftentimes we might think, when I think both for a lot of Christians who are like, yeah, all these things change, as well as maybe even then for those, those of us now on the other side, when we're like, okay, what are the changes? I think our mind runs to maybe some of those more exterior things, enforcing purity culture or things like that, right? That are very visible and very in your face. And it's, rules. We used to enforce all these rules, and now we're a little, but I like where you took us there, where really the biggest shift is maybe it lies underneath the surface. It's our perspective on life. And the more our own perspective on life changes, the more our parenting is going to change in return, right? By extension. And so that's the most fundamental shift. Yeah,
definitely. No, I'd say probably one of the biggest things right off the bat, and I was the most excited about, was my kids finally got to celebrate Halloween. And I know that I know that a lot of Christians see nothing wrong with celebrating Halloween. And obviously I see nothing wrong with it now. But I was very, 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 very against Halloween. Like a militant.
Oh, you were one of those.
I was like,
no, but I was kind of too as well. Yeah.
I was militant about it. And I didn't even want them. I didn't even put, like, I'd take them to the pumpkin patch for the cute pictures and the colors. We'd take home a pumpkin, but I wouldn't even put an uncarved pumpkin by my door.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Incredible. All right. That said, so let's put a pause on this, and maybe we'll come back to it. But we have our first caller.
Yes.
What do you think? Should we go? And it looks like maybe it's not about parenting, which is totally cool, right? Totally cool. We want to hear about what are the challenges y'all are facing. Call in about anything that is the priority of the show. So we have Lena calling in, pronouns she, her, from Minnesota. Lena identifies as an atheist and wants to talk and discuss being a neurodivergent young adult and feeling judged by society as a result of that. I am pushing the great big green button, and Lena, you are on live with Stacie and Drew. How are you doing, my friend?
Hello,
Can you hear us,
Drew.
Lena?
Hello.
Hey, welcome back, Lena. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, it's always good to hear your voice.
Yeah. And I'm meeting Stacie in this way for the first time.
Oh, I suppose you haven't called in. You've called in a couple times, but this is the first time with Stacie. Stacie, Lena is a dear friend of ours from our humanist community, and she's been very open about that on previous calls. And yeah, Lena, this is my wife. This is
Hello.
Stacie.
Hi.
Yeah. So Lena, talk to us a little bit about, what would you like to share about your topic or whatnot, we could say. I want to tell you quick, I'm so glad you called in about this. And I want you to know we can talk about this in any way that you would prefer, whatever's most comfortable for you. You let us know how can we make this conversation as beneficial and helpful for you as possible.
Okay. Well, what I was thinking with that was because actually earlier today I was watching some videos online of just like nobody that I knew specifically, but just other people on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
I would be okay identifying that I am on the autism spectrum, and that like it looked like some of the video shots of the videos that I was looking at, it seemed like there were like other people in the background, and it sounded like I didn't get the full context of it, but I felt like I kind of related to the neurodivergent person that was being talked about, because like there's some things that like neurodivergent and more specifically autistic people do that neurotypicals don't necessarily see as like quote unquote normal.
Yeah. And how does that, so watching this video, what kinds of things did it make you feel?
I would say actually it made me a little bit upset because mainly because I felt like at least when I was personally growing up that like I like a lot of the time, at least when I was like more young, like I really felt like I was wearing this I guess this figurative mask in order to quote unquote fit in with neurotypical society.
Yeah, I'm guessing that, I mean, anytime we feel like we need to wear a mask, that never feels good for anybody, right? We want to be our true selves at all times. Yeah. And we want to be accepted. However, no matter what our true self is and how we, however we navigate life and all of those things, we just want people to accept us as we are, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I don't know if it helps, but just from somebody who might be, considered more, neurotypical or whatnot, on behalf of, I apologize for, on behalf of all the other neurotypicals for anything harmful, or sometimes maybe even without realizing it, doing things or giving vibes, signals, microaggressions, you might call it, that might feel harmful or just painful. And, on behalf of everyone, I guess I apologize for that. We want you to feel loved and cherished and amazing and celebrated as you are.
Yeah.
Thank you, Drew.
Do you have a good community around you, Lena?
I do. I do.
That's good.
the humanist community that Drew and I are a part of, that's a really big one for me.
Good, because that's super important that you feel like you have a place where you can just be yourself and not feel like you have to sort of mask who you are and not feel like you can just be you
Right.
with no judgments, right? So yeah, that's
yes.
good. Yeah.
Lena, may I ask, do you feel at our humanist community, and if you don't feel comfortable answering this, that's fine, but do you feel like you are able to truly be yourself without having to wear a mask inside our humanist community? Or maybe I'm realizing I kind of formed that as a yes or no. So maybe it would be better to say, to what degree, how comfortable do you feel being your true self without a mask at our humanist community? A little bit or a lot or kind of in the middle?
I would say I'm in the middle because I've noticed initially when our current interim minister first started, I didn't necessarily know what to feel like with her being around. And now that I've known her for pretty much these past 2 years now, I'm really gonna miss her. She's a really cool person.
Yeah, she is. No, she really is. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you this, Lena, I know. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, so basically to actually answer your question, Drew, I would say mostly yes. I am able to unmask. Sometimes I might feel like I have to mask a little bit, maybe if I'm meeting somebody for the very first time. But I feel like once I get to know those people more and more, I feel like I can form more of a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Lena. Do you feel like, and not necessarily talking about the humanist community, at this point, but just anything could be, I know you've been in school, you have your home life, a variety of different scenarios. Do you feel like, are there specific, and I'm not asking you to share who they are, but do you feel like there are specific people that just routinely judge you and give you a hard time?
Actually, now that I'm thinking about that, Drew, I feel like some of that judgment does come from society, but also actually now that I'm thinking about this more, I feel like some of that judgment is coming from within, myself.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can be our toughest critic. I know that's the case with me. Yeah. Wow. What an insight.
I've heard people say that before. Yeah.
And that's not to deny that other people aren't, and that society as a whole isn't truly critical or judgy, but just to be able to have that insight and say, you know what, some of it might be me. I know for myself, There are times similar to that. Now, you and I are in two different situations with two different humans in two different spaces in life. But I know sometimes I can fall into that where it might be just from what I see on YouTube or what I see on Instagram, what I see in the world. I assume then, even as I walk past people, I'll assume that they might have certain viewpoints or judgments or whatnot, which they're not actually saying those things. It's my brain that's saying them to me. And that can sometimes be the tougher part, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope, Lena, that if there ever are situations, or if later somebody might come to mind where you're like, you know what, this person, they're always a total ass. I want you to feel like you have the power and the autonomy to set boundaries and to say to yourself, you know what, I think I'm going to minimize my time with that person, or what have you, right? Sometimes that can be helpful. Yeah. Are there any questions you might have specifically that you wanted to chat about that we might be able to help kind of talk through and think through, or do you feel like this was, about what you were looking for here when you called in?
Yeah, I would say this was pretty good, and also I know you didn't catch it, Drew, but like just how you said like when you were talking about like me minimizing time with like negative people, just the way you said that cracks me up.
Oh, is it because I said ass? Because I called them asses? Is that why? Yeah, you know me, Lena. I get a little loose with my language sometimes, don't I? Lena, you're amazing, and I know you in the real world. We interact in our humanist community together, and seriously, Lena, I got a lot of love for you. Love you dearly, and so glad you called in. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Drew.
It was so nice to meet you.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you, Stacie.
Yeah. Thanks for calling.
Bye.
Take care, Lena. Yep, bye-bye. Oh, what a fantastic call. I love Lena so much. She's so great.
Sweet. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, hey, folks, again, the number is on the screen, 98-4400 5656. Call in, chat with us. It may be like Lena's call where it didn't have anything to do with parenting. That's fine. Every week. And I have, I'm trying to make an extra point of this tonight because Stacie, I've heard feedback from a couple different people over the last week or so, thinking that, you know what? Yeah, I can call in about anything, but is it really ideal? And yes, that is even more than the conversation. The conversation is just, hey, let's give people ideas on different things to call in on each week, and for us to have good conversation in between calls. But seriously, the whole point of the show, folks in the chat, folks listening live, folks listening, wow, those in the future, hey, future, those of you who watch this later, the point of this show is to partner with callers, is to partner with folks in the community who have left the faith and are trying to navigate what life after faith looks like, because it is throwing curveballs at us left and right. There's challenges. I've oftentimes said that the subject matter of this show is as broad and wide as life itself, because for many of us at least, when you go from believing in God stuff and being active in church world, and now you exit all of that, literally everything can change. So folks, call in about anything and everything any week. And if it's a challenge you're facing that you want to talk through, maybe even looking for a little bit of advice or guidance on, again, this isn't therapy, but we are here, and we are here to talk with and chat with every week. And that's the priority, even over the specific conversation we're having. But yeah, so call in, folks, chat with us. We do have some folks in the screening room now, or actually, Stacie.
Yes,
They
I
just
see.
left the screening room. You ready for another call?
Yep.
Let's do it. Let's keep this conversation rolling. Okay, here we have Tom. Pronouns are he, him, calling in from Pennsylvania, identifying as an atheist, and wanting to chat about, looks like the reason for the call, there are resources and moral lessons from religious ideas that aren't available to atheist parents. Oh, fascinating. I can't wait to unpack this.
I would love to know.
Here we go. All right.
Go.
So we're pushing the big green button on Tom. Here we go. Hello, Tom, and you are on live with Stacie and Drew. How are you doing this evening? Oh, hold on. Looks like I didn't push the big green button hard enough. There we go. Okay. Tom, welcome to the party. How you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for calling in. What I think we're both intrigued. I certainly am by what I'm seeing in the call notes. So unpack this for us. I don't want to put more words in your mouth. So why don't you go ahead, share with us kind of what your thought is, and we'll talk about it. I'd love to hear where you're coming from.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to describe myself as an atheist who almost wishes that he could believe, because regardless of parenting or life in general, even, I feel like there's a lot of good ideas from a lot of different religions that benefit society, that benefit our relationships with other human beings, whether it's children or even strangers, and that there is a lot of benefits from religion that, I pick and choose from, and I feel like it's, and even like the community, which is one aspect of it that develops, when you're in those organizations, I feel like I wish I could be a part of, or I wish I could have my children be a part of, but I'm so, I can't get past the rationale and logic of religion. Yeah. So let's just start there, I guess, and maybe hear your thoughts on it, what I think.
Well, again, thank you for calling in. So yeah, my default is to push back on it a bit. Stacie, I think I heard your first vocalization go,
I'd love to hear. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you, Tom. I'm curious, just to unpack a little bit more where you're coming from. When you say that there's a lot, to offer, that religious teaching has a lot to offer, are you suggesting that these are things, or the things you have in mind, which it might be interesting to have you share a couple of the things that you do have in mind, but are they things, I'm curious, that originate, ideas and concepts that originate with these, religious texts or something? Or is it stuff where they've helped amplify it, carry it along, but not necessarily the originators of it? Is that a helpful way to put the question? I'd love to hear your thoughts on
that. Yeah. So your co-host, I feel like he's gonna maybe ask me to justify David in the Old Testament, getting commanded by God to burn a village and then salt it so nothing can ever grow again. I have my hang-ups with a lot of things in the Bible, or in a lot of religions in general.
Okay.
But some of the, there is good lessons from, good allegorical lessons that can be taken from stories in the Old Testament, stories in the New Testament, about, the way, there's various stories about how fathers and sons interact, and, how loving somebody even if they betray you or hurt you, and forgiving them, things like that. And then on a separate thing, I feel like that in society in general, at least in the Christian sense, that the church community before the government safety nets was like a sort of social safety net, a place where people met, and like a healthy environment that brewed local community.
Sure.
If that all makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a helpful addition, expansion on what you're saying. I again have so many
Not really.
more questions, but yeah, Stacie, I'm going to default to you and let you run for a minute, because I've asked a few questions and I think you're eager maybe to share some thoughts or whatnot.
I'm just curious, when you say that there's resources and moral lessons from religious ideas that aren't available. So what is it that isn't available? What does Christianity or any religion have that if you're not involved in organized religion, that you're just not going to ever hear as an atheist or being raised by atheist parents? Like what are those things? Tell me, please.
I
don't want stories from the Bible. I just want to know, like, what are the actual morals and resources that are not, you'll never hear if you're not a Christian, for example.
Uh-oh, I think we just crashed. Did we crash? Now we're back.
A different way.
Are we all here? Is Tom still with us?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. Can you start your answer again, please?
Sorry, Tom. The system, I think, reset or whatnot. But yeah, no, we'd love to hear more and kind of where you're coming from. And this, in all of these things, we can all get a bit passionate where we're coming from. And so this isn't a debate. We're not here to debate you. I am interested. I think we're both interested in hearing, though, what kinds of things you have in mind for what kinds of resources, parenting resources, moral lessons that are available to organized religion and not to the rest of us.
No, I wouldn't argue that it's not. I mean, everybody knows the golden rule. Everybody knows moral lessons, but whether or not they're more likely to be implemented by let's just say, if you're talking about parenting, for instance, I mean, this is totally anecdotal, but from my experiences, and this is from an atheist talking, please, I'm not some underground Christian trying to persuade people here. Sure. That when I'm around communities of people who go to church, they're generally some of the happiest. Their children seem, the way they're more likely to impress upon these moral lessons than people who aren't religious, from my experience. And you're going to argue that to the teeth, and I know that. But I'm just saying, from a total anecdotal point of view, it seems that way. And it seems like people who, when I'm around people family members who are involved in their church, and I go to a party or something when they're there, the way that they interact with people is so the hostility, no matter race, race or creed or anything like that. The way they interact with people. Look, you can even use Chick-fil-A as an example, right? All those kids coming to church generally, and the way they interact with people is just much different than almost any other retail experience in general. So I feel like it's just more likely to get parents who are religious, maybe are more likely to impress those moral philosophies on their children.
So
interesting.
People who go to like Chick-fil-A after church are nicer than people who are atheists?
Yeah, actually, I will say that.
Okay, so I actually have an example.
Absolutely, the way they handle customers, absolutely.
I
regardless of color, creed, and economic background, anything.
Okay, well, I disagree. And you're making a broad statement. I'm going to make a broad statement. I used to go to Christian conferences a lot when I was a Christian, and I went to Joyce Meyer Women's Conference a few times in St. Louis. And I have to tell you, it was probably one of the, some of the rudest women that at one point, even Joyce Meyer got up on stage on the Saturday night and she reamed everybody out for how rude they were, how inappropriate, they were just not being a good Christian example. So I completely disagree with that statement. I don't think just because you're a Christian makes you a nicer person whatsoever. So that's my anecdotal.
No, neither do I. But
experience.
I'm speaking anecdotally. You're speaking anecdotally. I
Yeah,
would argue
but
that percentage-wise, of course, you're going to have bad experiences. I've had bad experiences with Christians, but generally, depending on the denomination, the church, the style of how the leaders of the church organize it, of course, it could be horrible churches.
okay.
But if you want to look at the general percentage of people and whether their children are going to be more moral, to argue that if you would argue that the general population, if you would honestly argue that there isn't benefits that the general population who is atheistic generally would be lives up to Western morals better than somebody who goes to church, for instance, in the United States, let's say. I know I'm just trying to narrow it down.
Okay.
Was that the beginning of the next sentence or was that the end of it? I thought you were going to say, for instance, was either way. Okay. So
no, I'm saying, like, I'm not trying to have like this idea about, I didn't want, I said Western morals. I just didn't want people to get the wrong idea about what I'm trying to say. I mean, I only know the United States. You're in the United States. I'm not trying to demean other nations, people, or anything like that.
Sure. So, no, so it's fascinating to me in several ways. Okay. One thing that keeps coming back to me, all right, is, and again, Tom, I appreciate this call, and clearly it's got folks thinking in many different directions. So I'm inclined to say this. Again, this isn't necessarily a debate show of what is the best or has to be the best way to approach these things, but trying to help folks as they navigate life. And the reality is that I've seen is that some folks are helped by things like what you're describing. Okay. Some folks who have left the faith, who are now atheists, who are now no longer believers in God stuff, etc. Sometimes they still crave things that are organized types of religion. And that's why there are the original version of humanism, or at least secular type humanism. We're not talking about philosophical humanism or educational humanism. We're talking about what most of us in the atheist space think of as humanism. The first version of that was referred to as religious humanism, not because they believed in God stuff. They didn't. They were atheist, but because they did non-theistic religious activity, such as gathering, singing, conducting moral teaching to the children, which they refer to as religious education in some sense, even though they were non-theistic. It wasn't God-based. So there can be, I think, I let you go for quite a while, and I'm trying to.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
But yeah.
I apologize.
But so there are a number of folks where that kind of thing can be really helpful. And I would say this: if you found a community that and even if they're Christians, believing Christians, but you found that it's good enough for you and it gives you the community you want, then fine, great, go for it. The more we can partner with those that don't agree with us and everything, good things can come from that. That said, the fact that I was able to just reference how there's whole segments of humanist and non-theistic communities that gather as oftentimes these days the word religion is more or less conflated with theism, but historically not so much. So that more or less looked like religion because historically, technically through one lens, it would be considered religious, right? So the fact though that these communities gather on Sunday mornings, provide non-theistic religious teaching to their kids, go through a secular form of creating a humanist creed, in a sense, their own creed that they themselves are empowered to live by individually. These things show that a lot of the stuff you're referencing is available to atheists. And even those that don't gather in communities on Sunday morning, it's available to the rest of us as well, just through reading and there are so many books. If you go to drewbekius.com in the Secular Resource Center, there's a whole bookshelf on the Secular Resource Center at my website that is all devoted to secular parenting. A lot of it is, how do you teach ethics and values to your kids? How do you help your kids develop autonomy and make a good impact in the world? So what I love about your call, Tom, and then I want to hear more from you. I want to make sure we give you the last word, but we do have another caller, so we do want to shift here in the next few moments to take the next caller. But I'll give you the last word again. But what I love about your call is the fact that you are feeling free to find your way after faith, even if it includes things the rest of us might not normally reference. What I don't love about your call is you seem to emphatically demand, seem to at least, that your way is the only way. And that is not the way to do non-theism or life after faith. So that said, I'm also concerned that even though you might love it, if you have kids or anybody else who attends with you, though it has a great impact on you, it might not have the best impact on them if they're receiving theistic education all the time. That's maybe another conversation. I want to give the last words to you, though, before we shift to the next caller. And of course, Stacie, if you have any more you want to add on quick.
So,
Tom, final words?
I'm sorry for cutting you off before. Should I let her talk first?
No, it was an accident. Yeah, go ahead.
So, no, I mean, there's no life after faith. I never had faith. No,
Okay.
of course not. I'm not saying that my way is the only way. And I'm sorry if I came off that way. I mean, you guys were posing a question and I was posing an answer to it. And, you know, I just, and if we're talking about meeting together to sing, to worship, secular, well, what are we talking about then? That is a form of religion in a way. What is religion, right? It's a way to gather people together to expunge a creed or a philosophy. Just because, I mean, if you're talking strictly from the Judeo-Christian sense because you're an American, you know, but there's, you know, to argue like, you know, the way Jainists worship or, you know, something like that is totally different, more like what you're talking about. So, I mean, essentially, I feel like you're almost saying that what you guys are doing after religion is saying, I don't like what the Bible says in particular because I'm from a Western Christian nation and I had a bad experience. And I love the things in it, like I'm saying, and I want to meet on Sunday and sing and do all that. Well, that's still a form of religion in a way. You're trying to teach lessons in a group setting.
Yeah, I disagreed with you on that, by the way. You don't need to repeat. I agree with that. Absolutely. Religion itself is not inherently theistic or non-theistic. Yeah, but we do need to wrap up, Tom. I feel like we're kind of just going in circles at this point. And we do want to get to our next caller. But again, I appreciate your call, and we might not see eye to eye on everything, but that is okay. And thanks for calling in and answering the question on whether or not atheism makes you a better or worse parent. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Tom. All right. Sometimes it can be difficult for this to not be a debate show, but
well, yeah, because that was a weird claim, and I'm sorry, but
well, I do see where, and we want to welcome this. So, and folks, everybody watching, okay, so something I have talked with several of our co-hosts about is it's okay if we don't all agree. Even the co-hosts, which this is my wife, so hopefully I agree with her a little more on most things. But we talk regularly.
Okay, if you don't.
Well, no, and that's something that we want to demonstrate on this show. That is part of one of the core things we want to demonstrate on this show. We don't all have to agree with everything. There's been other co-hosts where we've stopped and we point out and said, like, okay, well, so and so, your perspective on this is on this topic is this A, and my position on it or my viewpoint is B, and that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything, but how can we help each other move forward? And so, so Tom, thanks for calling in. It kind of felt like you were trying to prove a point rather than just share your perspective, but
that's
maybe we slipped into a little bit of that as well. I don't know. So, but always welcome to come and share an alternative point of view. And to Tom's point, that was the question I invited people to call it, to put in the chat and even call in and share on is, do you think that atheism makes you a better parent, a worse parent, or makes no difference? He was calling in to
Can
share
I
his
point out,
perspective. So
he still didn't share what resources are not available to atheists.
well, yeah, I mean, I don't know that he made that claim. That claim was
He
in
did
his
make that
screening
claim.
notes. Oh, did
Yeah.
he make the claim on air?
Well, it
too?
was in his
Okay,
notes,
okay.
and I point out, I asked him,
Yeah.
so he didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and then he clarified and said, actually, I think he clarified and said he didn't actually. I don't know, but anyway, let's move on to our next caller. Continuing this conversation on parenting. All right, we have the one and only Ember, pronouns she, her, calling in from New York. I wonder if this is the Ember that so many of us know and love so well. Ember identifies as tall and is calling in to discuss biblical parenting. I am pushing the great big green button. Actually, it's kind of a small green button, but I am pushing it. And we have Ember. You are on live with Stacie and Drew. How are you on this fine evening?
Hello. I continue to persist, apparently in an elevated altitude fashion, I guess.
how tall are you?
I mean, if you're openly identifying as tall, but yeah, no.
I don't know. The call screener asked me what I am, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Tall, I guess. I'm actually not that tall. I'm 5'7" last time I checked, but it popped into my head. So there we go.
Okay.
I was inspired by the Lord, probably.
Well, as long as you come carrying the blessings of, the Lord of all, the utmost for his highest. I don't think that's how that phrase is used, but either way, welcome. You're in a safe space, I think. So talk to us about what's on your mind. So do you have some great insights and prophetic utterances on this concept of biblical teaching you refer to?
Not exactly like prophetic utterances, more like questions. But first, I want to remind everybody to subscribe. We are creeping up on 4K subscribers on this channel, and I really want to have a party. So, share, tell your friends, do all of those things so we can get there.
Absolutely. Please do. Share, subscribe, comment, do all the things. Absolutely.
So, as you know, we've talked a little bit before. I didn't actually grow up Christian, although my grandmother tried. But I ended up raising my kids secular, and I have questions about the biblical wisdom of how to parent a child. Like, for example, Luke tells us that any who causes a little one to stumble should be cast into the sea with a millstone around his neck. What do I do if the person who tripped my kid is their sibling?
Cast them. It's literal.
Well,
no.
It's very insightful.
Yeah.
I hope, Ember the tall one, I hope that you are not advocating that our viewers treat their children's siblings in such a manner. I hope.
Oh, I'm not advocating. I'm just asking for clarity.
Clarification.
Because I mean, you got to ask people who know, right? And you guys are parents and former Christians, and so I was hoping you could help me get to the bottom of this mystery. There's actually a few more. Like, for example, when Leviticus says to stone a child for disobedience, how many stones are appropriate?
Oh, that
my
is
gosh.
Right. Well, would you like my pastoral take on the stoning question?
Sure.
Okay. My pastoral take on the stoning question. Keep in mind, though I was evangelical, I was on the more leftist side of things, if that doesn't sound like a complete oxymoron. There was a day where it might be a full oxymoron now. There was a day where it was becoming more and more of a thing, part of what they called the emerging church as well. So we did things a little wild at times. But my take on that was to point out that such injunctions as those to conduct public stonings, that there is no recorded historical record of anyone ever actually doing that, at least in ancient Judeo-Christian times. And to then suggest that if they understood it non-literally, then maybe it's best we don't either. And I'd kind of leave it at that.
Well, that
Stacie?
raises more questions.
Yes, it does.
I would have said, well, that was the Old Testament. Jesus came, and now we're under the new covenant. That's how I would have.
But that's the beautiful part. In Mark, Jesus specifically refers back to that verse and says that's what Moses said to do.
Well, I also would have said, I don't want to go to jail. And there's some things that they did back then that we can't do now. So, yeah.
No, that is good.
But that's a good point.
What? Yeah, no, what is that? Ember, you don't have that Mark verse in front of you, do you? Like the passage,
No,
as they
I
say?
don't.
No? Because I'm curious, because I felt, at least back then, now it's been 15 years, but I preached and taught through the entire Bible, and I felt pretty confident that I had what I considered a satisfactory way to interpret like everything, and it fit together nice and neat in my packaged systematic theological, we called it systematic theology, and I love systematics. I love taking all the little pieces and making them fit in I was the only one that believed the particular framework that I espoused, but it was easily adaptable as well. But now thinking back 15 years later, I'm not sure off the top of my head how I would have interpreted that. But one thing's for sure is they are verses that everyone loves to dodge when you are a biblical literalist, because they make everyone very, very uncomfortable, don't they? See, there's silence.
Okay, so the Google.
She was busy looking. She wasn't even listening.
Yeah.
No, I was, but like, I also wanted to
yeah.
answer the question. I hate leaving unanswered questions.
What was it? Did you find it?
It was Mark 7:10.
Mark 7:10. Okay. Let's see. We're going to do a little on-the-fly Bible study here. Let's see.
You need to look it up now.
Mark 7:10. Yeah, for Moses said, honor your father and mother, and anyone who curses his father or mother must be put to death. But you say that if a man says his father or mother, whatever you might have otherwise have received from me is korban, that is a gift devoted to God, then you know. So, okay. So I would have to dig and continue reading a little more deeply to get specifics. Uh-oh, am I gone? I look up and it's just me. Does that mean we're no longer on air?
Nope, Stacie just stepped away and asked me to turn camera off. You're fine. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. I looked up from reading my Bible and all of a sudden it was just me, and I was like, oh no, did everything crash and I'm just, off in the abyss by myself. But no. So what the big thing that all of this hinges on is that Jesus in that verse says, they say such and such, but you tell me such and such. So the they say, I believe, if I'm remembering right, 15 years later, the they say is referring to how the Pharisees, who do not have a correct understanding of the scriptures, they say this, which typically then would be twisted and turned around and all that. That's how I would have handled it anyway. But I think at the end of the day, the truth is that it takes a lot of twisting and turning and maybe some, very deep scholarly studying to find ways to get around what the actual words say. And that, and the number one reason why I left the faith all the way, rather than trying to slowly influence my congregation to become more and more leftist and eventually leave the Bible altogether, the reason why, or teach that at least the Bible wasn't the inerrant, inspired word of God, the number one reason why I didn't stay and continue doing that is because I knew that people who read it don't sit there and say, well, what does Drew think? And how does Drew make this easier to stomach? No, they read it and they take it literally, which makes this one of the most dangerous devices on earth And one of the reasons why I say all the time that I'm pretty confident I can show how every verse in the Bible is at least a little bit bullshit. It is one of the most dangerous weapons on earth, because you shouldn't need to study for a lifetime and twist and turn to make shit not sound like absolute toxicity.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's where you were wanting to go, Ember, but that's kind of my bottom line on that idea.
Okay, fair enough. And to my take on that is that,
Yeah, what's your take on it? I want to hear your take.
yeah, it's one of the best indicators that you shouldn't believe the book. Like, you know, if it tells you how to live a holy life and it's out here telling you to murder children, then maybe it's not the best moral guide. Maybe you should, you know, go read some Animorphs or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Ember, you know, it's such a joy having you call in. I don't know, is joy a triggering word to the former Christians in the chat? Is joy triggering?
Joy.
That's triggering. The
Sorry.
song is triggering. Oh, yeah.
No,
Ember,
I still don't have a legal middle name, and so I've been considering adding one. And you know, last week there was a show where a person said faith like 600 times, and so I thought about making it faith. But now that you mention it, joy might be a good one. Ember
Joy sounds nice.
Yeah. He really does. I like it, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like.
I'll take it under advisement. My goodness. Speaking of taking things under advisement, I do have a few more questions about biblical parenting.
Question away.
Next, we're going to go to the book of Proverbs.
Okay.
Proverbs 20 verse 7 says, "The righteous lead blameless lives. How can I discipline my child if I can't hold them responsible because they're blameless?"
Ooh. That's another good one. So is Proverbs 20 what?
27.
27. Yeah, the righteous man leads a blameless life. Blessed are their children after them. Okay. Yeah, hard to discipline them if they're blameless. Maybe it's speaking poetically as like a generality, not poetically, but as a generality. Or maybe not all of the biblical writers, whoever the hell they were, maybe not all of them actually believed that children were inherently evil since birth. Maybe. Just an idea.
Ooh, how heretical.
You know, it's really
I don't know,
hard.
Ember.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's really hard to like hold your newborn baby and look at your baby and be like, you are inherently sinful. You are born with a sin. You are as dirty as filthy rags. You are wretched.
Yeah.
You know, I remember looking at my babies and being like, that's hard to imagine, like to look at you and be like, you're already born in sin and you are a sinful person. And you're just this like perfect little innocent being that's just like, you can't do anything. But that's what they preach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, for sure.
Some more aggressively than others. I remember way back to the start of my channel, one of the first things that actually shocked me was I was looking at a video from Alyssa Childers, and she said it was when she was doing her tour for that culture says you're good enough, but God says you're not good enough. So admit you suck, whatever the fuck her book was called. But she says in this video that like people have this idea today that you're a good person, that people are generally good and people try to do good. Christianity is the opposite message. It's that you're inherently evil, wicked, sinful, and worthless, and you need to obey the church to reconcile that and be redeemed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the most horrible thing I've heard all week. And so I made it part of the outro of my videos.
Oh, wow. No, that's incredible. So, well, let me ask you this, Ember. I want to hear your thoughts. I know you want our thoughts on. I can tell you're sincere in your questioning. You want our thoughts on all of these Bible verses.
Oh, I'm totally sincere. Yes.
I can tell. I can tell. You're a seeker. You're a seeker. I can tell. Are there any resources that and you mentioned you're a parent. Where is there any place in particular where you go for, say, guidance on being a good parent? Not that I would have any reason to question you wouldn't be able to just intuitively have good wisdom in how to parent. I'm not questioning that, but is there anything beyond the Hebrew or Christian scriptures that you look to as a reference?
Oh, well, there's probably great guides out there. I don't know. When my older kids were little, I didn't really have other adults around my own age to talk to, and so often what I did when I ran into a situation, my kids were generally very, very good. My older daughter, she was challenging because she was the baby of the group. And aside from that, for the most part, incidents were relatively minor. But whenever I was flummoxed for where to turn or what to do, I would think back to what my parents would have done if it were me, and then just did the opposite of that.
Oh, wow. Think back to what's the opposite of what my parents did for me. What did my parents do for me? What's the opposite that I would do? I actually really love that. And not that that's always automatically going to give you the answer, but it provides an interesting and what can be a really valuable counterpoint, right? Like let's just consider, apart from, because oftentimes how we're raised is kind of what we oftentimes just gravitate towards, because that was set up as the norm, right? In our experience, that was the norm. And so to just take a moment, especially taking a moment if you know how you were raised was harmful and absolute shite. But even if it feels like it was good, I gravitate that. I spanked both of my kids when they were little. I never questioned it until they were older. And then I found out how they processed it. And it horrified me and made me re-question everything regarding spanking. But so sometimes I say that because sometimes how we're raised makes sense. I never felt traumatized by it. And I was a lot more held back and moderated in how I spanked than how I always was. And so I felt like it was really good. And so even when it feels positive the way we were raised, to still take a moment and say, okay, but what's the other argument?
Yeah.
How do other people see it? And there can be a lot of wisdom in that, or at least a counter perspective to think through. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, Ember, but no, I appreciate that though a lot. So,
sometimes even just pausing to think before jumping to instinctive action still leads you to better outcomes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I sure do. Or at least they tend to direct in that way. Absolutely. Well, hey, Ember, I know the goose here, she has kind of a hard stop coming up. So I think we might kind of start winding down. We're going to shift towards the bullshit Bible verse of the week. But Ember, since you're already, you've been bringing us such great pearls of parental wisdom, I wonder if you might like to stick around and join us on air for the bullshit Bible verse of the week. Does that sound okay to you? Would you welcome the invite?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Sure. I can stick around for that. Could be fun.
So here we go. Okay, folks, it is that time. All right. Top of the hour, but such a great call. So we wanted to make sure to continue having such a great call. But it is time for the bullshit Bible verse of the week. And drop your final guesses in the chat. Remember, the hints this week were, it's a verse about parenting, and parenting with what could be described as the classic Christian love, right? 5, 4, drop your guesses in the chat. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. time is closed. And now we're going to reveal, I believe, Stacie Goose, take it away.
All right. I'm going to read it from the ESV. So it's not going to be exactly
Hold
like.
on. Tell everybody why the ESV. Even as a non-Christian, she is still so snobbish with her version of choice.
Excuse me. Because that's what I'm used to. Okay.
Yeah, no,
ESV
it's
is
great. I love it.
the only version that is acceptable. Not just joking. It's the English Standard Version. And as a former Calvinist, it's what I used. So Luke 14:26. If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple.
Oh, now this is what Christian parenting is built on. Right there. Hating your kids.
Yes. Hating everything.
Yeah. See that, Ember? See, this is Christian. That's why you were having so much trouble with all those good Christian verses, because the real virtue is hatred.
Oh, Luick. Yes.
Of course, like we were just talking about, think of what your parents would do and do the opposite. That's divine parenting. Hate your children. There we go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you know, I know, Ember, you've mentioned that you weren't raised Christian despite some family members' great attempts. Stacie, do you remember this verse much from your Christian days? Did they try and spin it in any way, or was it just kind of overlooked? How did they try and spin that? Do you know?
Oh gosh, I don't remember the spinning, but I do remember this verse, and I remember thinking near the end of my Christianity, like, this is a weird verse. I do remember it standing out and just being like, really? Like, I have to turn my back on everyone if it comes down to it and just follow Jesus. Like, yeah. So I do remember it standing out, but I don't really remember. I'm sure they would have spun it in a way like, it doesn't mean you actually hate them. It doesn't mean you actually, like, that's how it, my cotton candy churches would have done that. But,
yeah. I mean, that's similar to what my take on it was, hey, it was an embellishment. Okay.
Yeah.
It was an embellishment. I'm forgetting
everything
the
comes
specific
first.
literary term for it. But where it was in comparison to your love for God, in comparison, it should be as if you hate even your own children, spouses, parents, because you just love God so much more. My big question is, why do we got to compare? Like, why do we got to compare? Can't we just love?
Yeah.
You love your God? Okay, great. But why do we got to compare? What is all this bullshit? And again, people interpret it sometimes to mean you literally have to love or hate people.
Well, yeah, and that just gives them more fuel to their fire and more ammunition to their cause. Right now, especially. So they don't need it.
No, we don't need it. We don't need it. I don't know, Ember, have you ever throughout the course of your existence ever paused to say, you know what? Maybe this is one of the verses of the of the Christian Bible that I should take a second look at. Maybe there's good stuff here, some pearls of proverbial wisdom. Have you ever thought that at all, Ember?
I have. In fact, I've read through the Bible a couple of times, and sometimes I do find the occasional nugget, although nothing comes to mind right at the moment.
No, I mean this verse. Have you ever thought that this verse, this is the one? This is the one with the nugget of wisdom.
No, definitely not.
Definitely
but
not. Yeah.
Strikes me as a little bit weird, and I wish Dr. Kip were here or one of our other Bible scholar friends, because I'm sure there's some shenanigans with the translation coming through. But what it strikes me is reminiscent of the first commandment. Almost an echo of the first commandment. You shall have no other gods before me. Jesus is saying, there will be no one in your life before me. So far, or so much so that you have to hate them. Or possibly it's the persecution thing. It's saying, if you follow me, be prepared to be hated by your father, your mother, your wife, your children, your brothers and sisters, and even your children. Because life's gonna suck as a heretical Jew in an apocalypse cult.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, and where this comes from, I guess contextually, as if it's not all pieced together and everything anyway, what we have is it's, within this space of Luke's gospel, if you want to call it that, where it's just fresh off Jesus doing what he oftentimes does in the Gospel of Luke, and that's talking about how dangerous the Pharisees are and how they misinterpret, misprioritize everything. And then he shifts and he's talking about the heavy cost of discipleship. It's so heavy being a disciple. You have to basically cut off all of your other relationships and, in comparison, be willing to hate them because you love me enough to cut them off, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least that's the general context. But yeah, like with Dr. Kip and others, what they're so great at pointing out is when you look at the greater content, what's going on and the Hellenistic context, et cetera, there's all kinds of different literary devices. There's all kinds of patchwork from different sources all wedded together. And there's a lot of different perspectives on what it can look like. But one thing I'll say for sure, well, I don't know, maybe we should take a survey. Amber, Stacie, when it comes to the verse, let's get the verse back up there. When it comes to Luke 14:26, survey says bullshit. There we go. Bullshit. That we know. It's bullshit. Or at least that's my humble opinion. Amber, thank you again for coming on. Thank you for sharing so much biblical wisdom on parenting. Is very, very helpful. And in all of that, maybe we walk away with saying, do the exact fucking opposite of all of it. But seriously, thank you for that. That was quite entertaining.
Wash your
and
hands,
fun.
kids.
Yeah. Wash your hands, kids. All right. Thanks a lot, Amber. I'll talk to you later, okay? Thanks for calling in.
Toodles.
Bye. I will share with folks, there really are, there's so much we could talk. I feel like if we wanted, we could continue going on for another hour rather easily in all the different kinds of things that this subject matter, just of parenting, is atheist parenting evil? Do we become evil? Does our parenting become flawed because of our lack of biblical grounding and perspective? We could talk about that with purity culture. We could talk about that with discipline and spanking to a greater degree, discipline in general. We can talk about that in terms of just raising kids to be autonomous creatures, autonomous people who are allowed to be, we'd say, flawed humans, just human, make mistakes, right? And empowering our kids is ethical. Rather than trying to always put them in boxes and stomp on them, right? I don't know, but much that could be said. I will share there are some great resources folks can check out with their horrible, evil atheist parenting. There's a number of them. I'll just mention a few of them. You can find all of these in the Secular Resource Center of my website, drewbekius.com. One of the great ones, Parenting Beyond Belief, edited by Dale McGowan. For those also better, this is a little bit different, but Dale McGowan also is editor for another great compilation called In Faith and in Doubt, which is what if you are an atheist parent who's also married to a Christian spouse. That delves into that. Grace Without God by Catherine Osment. I love the subtitle to Grace Without God, The Search for Meaning, Purpose, and Belonging in a Secular Age. David McGee's The Belief Book, which is a fun little book.
That's a good one.
Introduced, you know that one?
My oldest son read it, yeah.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
It's filled with cartoons. It basically is, how do I teach my littler kids about other religions without making any of them sound credible at all? There's much, much more we could go into. Stacie Goose, before we head into some very exciting announcements and preview to the week ahead, anything else you were hoping to say just on this conversation? Anything you wanted to share thoughts-wise in terms of becoming, being an atheist parent?
Well, I mean, there's so much you can say. I'm not going to be able to make it concise. And but no, this was great. I think we had good conversation. I really enjoyed the calls. Yeah, it was wonderful. So yeah.
Absolutely.
No. So yeah.
Thanks for calling in, everyone. Seriously, all the calls were fantastic. Thank you. A great chat. We do want to give a great big thank you to all of the many people who helped make this possible, okay? Just one set of folks among them all is a great big thank you to all of our financial supporters, right? All of our patrons, all of our YouTube members. You make this possible, even in ways beyond what our crew and the hands-on. You make it possible in funding it all, right? So thank you for doing that. Always looking, folks, if you want to contribute, if you want to toss in a few dollars, of course, you can do that with super chats and things along that line. You can also do it with monthly memberships, okay? From what I understand, if you're choosing between becoming a Patreon patron or becoming a YouTube member, I believe Patreon patrons gives a slightly higher percentage of your contribution that goes to the channel. But either way, it's very generous. So please consider giving, contributing, and joining up, teaming up with us to help make Skeptic Haven thrive and continue and all that good stuff. Also want to give a great big thanks to our crew, Bree Badger, Call, Detroit Atheist Queen, Ember, Felicia, Michael, Wes. Thank you to everybody who helps make this possible each week. My amazing co-collaborator, the apostasy herself, Stacie Bekius. You are amazing, so thank you. And if you would like to join the crew, please consider joining the crew. Help us navigate the chaos, okay? A variety of different ways that you can pitch in. Everything from, I don't know, taking the show, chopping it up into little clips and putting it out on the YouTubes, helping us share the content more fully. Could be with things like content moderation, chat moderation, answering the phones, this call screener, all those good things. If you would like to consider being a part of the team, email us at skeptichaven@gmail.com, and there we can connect with you and help you find just that right spot on the team. Tomorrow, folks, this ain't it, right? Keep joining us, the Skeptic Haven family. Join us for Critical Call. Tomorrow night, Critical Call, hosted by the one and only AJ Ways to Human. This week, her guest is Jason Friedman, taking your calls and discussing whether real men, quote unquote, can be queer. Call in, check out the show. That is 7 p.m. Central Time tomorrow night. And then Sunday, we're super excited because we have a couple legendary features who are going to join us and lead the helm this Sunday for Let's Talk. In fact, we're so excited about it. We just can't wait to get it started that we're going to start it an hour earlier at 6 p.m. Central Time. So note that. Let's Talk this week, 6 p.m. Central Time instead of 7. And that is with the one and only, the legendary. I even got to hold his snake. Do you know how fucking cool that is? Aaron Ra and Professor Dave taking your calls and answering questions. Does science disprove God? Now that sounds like a debate I want to be in for. That said, Stacie, anything else that should be on the radar? You know of anything we need to make sure is in front of folks this week?
I think next Wednesday, you and Janice Selby will be here.
Yes. Absolutely. Folks, yeah, it is our desire to develop a little slice of community. So we want to tell you what our conversation is even a week in advance so that you can start thinking about it. What might you call in about? How might you want to participate in the conversation next week? And we would invite you to start thinking about that conversation. And so I have a question for you. Stacie, maybe you want to think about this too.
Okay.
And everyone else in the chat. Have you ever wondered if maybe you might have some sort of religious trauma syndrome? It sounds really heavy, but sometimes the shit we're feeling is really heavy. But yeah, have you ever wondered whether or not you might have some sort of religious trauma syndrome? Or Have you at least ever felt like you've had to literally fight for your damn life after leaving the faith? Well, next week, therapist and licensed counselor Janice Selby and I are going to be discussing this and more. So start thinking, folks, what you might call in about. Feel free. This is the time. We always talk about how we're not licensed therapists, and even next week I won't be a licensed therapist. But guess what? Next week we'll have a licensed therapist on. You want to talk about your trauma? You want to talk about how much religion has fucked you up? And you want to look for some guidance? Now, I'm pretty sure Janice won't be able to do an actual official therapy session. And so it probably still won't actually be therapy next week. But call in, chat with us. We are here for you. Well, Stacie, that about brings us to a wrap, Stacie Goose. I'm going to go ahead and close with a benediction, but do you have any final words you want to share before I do so? Any final words on your mind?
No, I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Hey,
This is
folks,
wonderful and happy.
if you love Stacie Goose, the final Wednesday of each month, we're locking her in, okay? She's here, so we love having you. We love having you, babe. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, you're like a co-collaborator, co-situationer, co-partner of all things heretical. Anyway, all right, the benediction, folks. May we always cherish the time we have. May we use our gifts to help others, our voices to speak justice, speak for justice, and our lives to bring light to the world around us. Raw men and raw men. All right, folks, have a great week. Stick around for the few notes on the final video, and we'll see you right back here next week. Cheers, y'all.
Okay, bye.
Well, that's a wrap here, folks. Hey, do us a favor. Smash like, subscribe, leave a comment. Best ones get tattooed on our favorite guests. And if you're feeling extra lovey tonight, then please, Patreon, memberships, a good old share to the algorithm. All of these are great ways to help our team feel the love and keep the channel moving strong. But hey, one way or another, we'll see you right back here next time, fam, right here on Life After Faith, where we're finding our way together.